Let's open our Bibles again to Titus chapter 2. Titus 2 and verse 6, we're going to get to the third quality, which says, in doctrine, having integrity. For us, that usually we go right by that. We think of integrity in doctrine. That means to have good theology or good orthodox teaching. Actually, the word actually doesn't mean integrity in that sense of merely teaching doctrine. It's talking about a life of integrity that matches your doctrine. In fact, the word actually as a negative has the little a, the alpha privative next to Aphthoria. And Aphthoria was the word for a desperately immoral person, a rapist, a child, pornographer, whatever you could think of as the worst thing that would be in the moral realm. That was a Aphthoria. P-T-H-O-R-I-A. But if you put an A next to it, it meant you weren't that way. And so, don't be that way, evil. And then the word next to it is orthodox doctrine. And what it really is saying is, make sure that if you believe truth, that you have integrity to live that truth. In other words, if you have a pure and holy God and a pure and holy doctrine, make sure you have a pure and holy life that matches, that has integrity to, that is in concert with that good doctrine you believe. Maintaining a life of purity. That's what Paul said to Titus. He says, you got the message down. It came right from God through me to you. And Titus, you're going to give that message, but make sure that you do your part. God has done His part. He has saved you. He has clothed you with Christ's righteousness. But make sure that your life squares up with the doctrine that you teach. Basically, that Aphthoria word and that alpha privative on it speaks to us about how corroded and corrupt our world is, and how we have to labor at not having a corrupted life. Why? Because our God is a consuming fire, the scriptures say. And He dwells in unapproachable light, which no one can approach unto. And God is constantly, always surrounded by these creations, these exquisite creations of His that are chanting, holy, holy, holy. And that consuming, fiery, holy God is immutable. You know what that means? He isn't going to ever change. He is changelessly, unapproachably holy and consuming as a fire. So what is grace? Did grace change God? Did He lessen His holiness? Did He lessen His unapproachableness? Did He lessen His consuming fire? No. God doesn't change. Grace changes us so we can approach that holy, unapproachable God. But grace demands that we deny anything that corrupts and corrodes and defiles and makes us not have consistency with what we believe. That's what Paul told Titus. Grace doesn't change God, it changes us. And grace has opened our way to God. It's given us a safe passage through the fire. And Christ's work on the cross opens the way for us to approach and know and love and most wonderfully serve such a God. But our God, who can be known, wants us to need His life-changing grace, to energize us in our struggle against the flesh within and the sins that so easily beset us. You remember the writer of Hebrews says that we are supposed to strip off all those sins that so easily trip us up. It's our conscious choice, and grace energizes us to do that. Sin constantly surrounds us like floodwaters. You know, there's been a lot of flooding going on up and down the rivers and the inundated towns and all along the Mississippi River and even right here in Oklahoma. And there have been so many water-damaged homes. But sin surrounds us like floodwater. Sin swirls around and seeks to seep into any crack or unprotected area of our life and defile us and corrode us and corrupt us. And grace is the power of God for us to say no to that sin, to have and to maintain a pure life. Salvation was described by Christ as knowing God, and grace makes us able to know the unapproachable holy God of the universe. But our God says there's a choice about our purity that we have to make. Once He has opened the way, once He has made the pathway to His presence open by His grace and through our faith in response to His work. And that part that we have is that after He imputed His purity to us, after God places on us the actual purity of Christ, we walk through life clothed with that purity. That's our positional purity. That's our wonderfully imputed purity. But God calls us to a practical purity. That is a lived out. That's our part. And that's the hard part